Come and sit by the fire with me and let me tell you a story. A story of love and hatred. But instead of being about something deep, it's about a game. But yeah, like any great story, we need an introduction. So this introduction requires us to go to the past. So strap into the DeLorean and let's go to the year 2007. 2007. Pretty good year for gaming. I mean, you got Super Mario Galaxy, Portal, Uncharted, The Witcher, Rock Band, Crysis, Team Fortress 2, and many others. However, there was one game that I was completely engrossed in, and that game was World of Warcraft. Everything about the game was incredible to me. The fact that it was open world, two factions, Alliance and Horde, with their races and classes, the amounts of quests, weapons, armors, mounts, skills, guilds. The soundtrack was captivating, the dungeons were nice, all the elite mobs everywhere scaring the shit out of me. And that was before the first expansion, Burning Crusade, was released in the spring of 2007. Yeah, I know I mentioned 2007 at the beginning, and I'm talking about something that happened before, but that's because 2007 was the year when I was introduced to a little thing called a private server. And it was then that my World of Warcraft experience became the most memorable. You see, my older brother had a friend who told him all about this one private server, higher experience rate, easy gold, a mall, custom hydro area, custom tier of gear, and more. Needless to say, I was in the private server called WoW Fusion. I remember how shocked I was when I hit the first mob and I turned level 3. Bam, just like that. It felt like using a cheat code, but without any guilt. Going to the mall and checking out all the gear, seeing the donors with their OP gear, having a donor power level my alt in custom Hyjal, doing the custom tier 7 quests, getting the God Slayer. Hell, I even remember being in a wedding in game of a couple that were getting married in real life. I mean, you don't see this type of shit all the time, and this server was like special for that reason, for all the experiences I had. And all of this while playing with my cousin, who I convinced to join during the summer of 2007. Shoutouts to all the people who remember WoW Fusion, man. Those were some good times. But like the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. Suddenly, WoW Fusion died. I've heard different reasons as to why, but it doesn't matter because we were left without a game to play. So initially we looked to other World of Warcraft private servers, but none of them were as fun for us. And while we were on some random private server website, there was a video ad for a game called Cabal Online. We watched the trailer and our minds were blown away. The visuals, the flashy skills, the music, the classes, it just clicked with us. So we downloaded the game, and that's where it all started. We started playing in April of 2009, back when it was under a company called OG Planet, and we were ready to give it a go, but that lasted like a few months. We had no fucking clue what we were doing, and we barely got to like level 50 when you get to Port Lux. Keep in mind though, that Cabal was quite different before in terms of content and all that stuff, but we'll get to that later. First, I need to mention that we did come back to play the game in March of 2012. But in between those dates, I was looking for another game to play once again. The go-to website for me at the time, around 2010, 2011, was MMOHut.com. And you guys remember that website? Back when it used to look like this, and you had like the gameplay impression videos with the intro, "Hey guys, it's Omer from MMOHut.com." Yo, Omer, man, damn, that's a long time ago. But looking at those screenshots, man, brings me a lot of nostalgia. I would go through the list and try the games I was interested in. I tried out like Nine Dragons, Maple Story, Vindictus, Aeon, Repels, Rohan Online, Lord of the Rings Online, RF Online. I even tried out a 3D sci-fi shooter called Ace Online just because, and it was actually pretty fun. I wonder if any of those games are still around, like Rohan or RF. I wonder what happened to those games. But in the end, none of them gave me the same spark that Cabal did. So time passed, and in March of 2012, my cousin asked me, hey, what if we try playing Cabal again, and this time properly? And I said, well, sure, let's go ahead. So we created our characters, we looked up a guide, we loaded some songs into the jukebox, the in-game jukebox, not like a real one in real life. And we were set. So OG Planet no longer handled the game. Instead, the creators of the game, EST Soft, took charge directly. There were some changes that we noticed immediately, such as like questing. Questing back then, it was either something like go kill 50 mobs and 75 of these mobs, and it was a fucking chore, or it was like the story quests were like drawn out mazes where you had to like destroy a bunch of shit and progress through it while you're hearing this song, like this rock tune with this girl singing over it. I don't know why, but all of that changed to like simple, straightforward instances where you just like fight mobs, you progress through a room, and you find the NPC to end the quest, and you progress further, and they sometimes ask you like, okay, go kill 10 of these guys and 15 of these guys, not 75. The gear, Mithril gear, was changed to Forcium, and now you actually had an in-between gear that was called Sigmetal, which was in between Osmium and Forcium. And you had like Dreyfrim gear that was also like available from drops in Machinas Outpost, but that was character bind, much like Lycanus weapons from Illusion Castle Underworld, so it wasn't really worth it. And crafting also changed. I don't know much about crafting, same as like slotting stuff in your gear. I never really got into that. I barely did it when I was playing, but crafting used to have like a transmuter back in 2009, and they got rid of that, and now like crafting is like so advanced, you can create like pieces of gear with so much amp in it. Before, the max I've ever seen was like 11, and most people were stuck to 7 and later 8 when Craftsman came around. The UI was different, it felt much more intuitive, I remember that much, but like I said, we didn't get far in the first place, so it's not like we experienced that much. But this time we joined a guild. We learned more of the terms, we learned what to sell, when to sell them, where to level, etc. It's at that time where the game became so much fun, but also so frustrating. Now, before I get to all the bad parts that you guys probably want to hear, let's go over all the good parts. First of all, battle modes are awesome. Battle modes were like these, it's like this thing where like you get the first one, which is like just a buff, a simple buff. It makes you stronger for like a little more than a minute. Then you get battle mode 2, which is even stronger, and it gives you a temporary weapon, like the warrior would get a scythe. And then battle mode 3, you get like 3 like books of battle mode 3, and they're all like, they make it stronger. And not only do you get a new weapon, but you get like an entire like red and black gear, and it hits like a truck. And that's your go-to battle mode, unless like, no, there's some exceptions, like there's alternatives for like the Blader. The Blader has like the retarget option that you could use, and if you have like high DPS, that's actually like a good way to use it for like bosses, for example. You had the combo system. The combo system was basically a UI that activates next to your health, and a bar would go from left to right, and you had to time your attack within a certain range that becomes narrower the more you succeed. This would allow for your attacks to hit every time. So that was essential for boss fights and duels especially. And you could even use movement to keep it going. So like, let's say you're at Nation War and you just killed a player, you see a player coming towards you, you can dash to him to keep it going, and then you start attacking him. And that's another thing, Nation War. That's the main PvP game mode where you face off against players of the opposing faction. You had Capella and Procyon, and you would try to gain points by defeating players. There's some mobs that appear, you can defeat them. I think you can destroy some structures. I'm not exactly sure. I've only played War like once or twice, and that's because like my PC was like really shitty at the time, so was my internet, so everything felt kind of laggy and sluggish, so I never really did much PvP. The only PvP I would do was duels outside of Bloody Ice. The movement, like I mentioned, that was fun. You had dash, fate step, and you like assign the movement to go towards the cursor, the direction of your cursor, so it always like looks smooth despite the fact that you're doing a dash and backdash. And you know, the wizards got access to blink, and they were always fucking faster than everyone else. The dungeons are fun, man. They have like different themes, like Volcanic Citadel, where you fight corrupt versions of the playable classes, or Forbidden Island, where you're like, you have the choice between going to the pirate ship where you fight Pirate Captain Trugust, or you go to another section where you fight Queen Calamity, which is like this weird squid demon. You also had like the DX dungeon, Steamer Crazy, where you're fighting robots on a moving train and you have to like disarm a bomb in a limited amount of time. Panic Cave, where you're running away from this disgusting fucking giant worm and it gets stuck eventually and you gotta kill it, but watch out for his one-shot kill because that'll fuck you up instantly. And the gears, my god, I would dream of getting like a full Sig Metal plus 15 set with plus 15 Forcium katanas. That was my dream. And the mounts in the game, you had Astro boards and bikes like the Blue bike or the RW3 bike. The music in the game was really good. The cosmetics in the game are nice. There's a good variety of them too. Costumes like the black suit, the Navy officer suit, or the Bruce Lee one from Game of Death. You had the weapon skins like water elemental skins, a bunch of skins like that. You could also get pets that you would imbue with different stats, which were random. Guilds, a nice trade channel. I remember the open war channel when there's no NPCs in the town and all you do is play or kill people. That's all you would do. So a bunch of cool stuff like that, As much as there are fun stuff, and I could go on for even more stuff. I could talk about the Saints Force Caliber, for example, an event that happens every Saturday, or other things like that. But now it's time to face the ones that sucked, the frustrating ones. Putting it into the simplest of terms, the game is pay to win, straight up. From 2012 to 2014, you could actually play the game without spending money and manage to get yourself a decent set of gear and weapons. Remember when I said I dreamt of having plus 15 gear and weapon set? Well, that's because the upgrade system is made to make you spend. The highest I've ever managed to upgrade a weapon without failing was plus 11. You see, to upgrade a piece of your equipment, you need a certain amount of upgrade cores, okay? So you get cores from mobs and boss chests in dungeons. Depending on your type of gear, you might need cores from like low to highest, and now there's even ultimate for the new gear called Demonite and the future ones that are gonna come later. If you fail, let's say at plus 9, you drop to plus 8. And you can even drop, like let's say you're at plus 14 and you fail, they'll be like, you failed, it drops to plus 12. Unless you had a thing called an enchant safeguard. An enchant safeguard makes it so when you fail, the item won't downgrade. Of course, the safeguard breaks after each fail, and you have to purchase a new one. Where do you get a new one? The item shop, home of many safe type items essential for upgrading your gear. I remember one time, a guy in a guild I was at spent like a bunch of money to buy a bunch of safeguards, and he had a bunch of cores stacked. And not only did he not reach plus 15, but he also ended up with a downgraded weapon. He was fucking pissed off and he just logged out. That shit was hilarious. Now, to be fair, you can actually buy a voucher with in-game ALs, which is the currency in Cabal. And the voucher gives you e-coins, so that's what you can use in the shop. So the most legitimate way, technically, to upgrade your gear would look like this. Step 1. Run a dungeon multiple times to stack on cores. Step 2, hope you get multiple good drops from those runs to sell at the auction house. Use the ALs you got from the auction shop to buy vouchers and buy enchant safeguards in the item shop. Step 4, hope to God you didn't just spend all that time to end up like the guy in my guild who sped up the process by a significant amount by using his wallet. Now, let me give you another example, this time for pets. You can buy a level 1 pet at the auction house, and you can level up the pet by attacking mobs. Each time the pet levels up, you can give it a random stat increase. So to do this, I think you needed like 10 force core highs, or highest, I don't remember. And once you have everything ready, you start the process, and then you just hope the roulette gives you like critical damage plus 2% or sword skill and plus 1%, and not some garbage like Al's amount drop or some shit like that. Now, you reach level 10 with your pet eventually, and some of the stats are good and some of the stats are bad. You can reset the slots and try again. For free? Hell no, of course not. You have to go to the item shop and get a untrained kit. In the auction house, it actually lists like available untrained kits, and there's never one. Like, no way. So there's also these animas, right, that you can get, and the animas are basically the stats themselves that you can just apply to your pet. So someone got like 10 stats in a row that were good, you can buy those and put it directly for your pet, but they're expensive. And the same thing applies for like if you get a pet with stats already like imbued on it with good stats, and that's even more expensive. Another issue, bots. Why are there so many bots in the game running around with names like 8HF4VZB3 or whatever? They run around and they're leveling up and leaving crap everywhere. Sometimes you even have bots spamming shout, which alerts the entire channel, and then you just gotta block them constantly. And if you're in the trade channel and you're paying attention to what people are listing, good luck, because you're gonna have to start muting everyone that's like just abusing anyone, muting all of the bots constantly. I don't understand why the devs aren't implementing something to keep them out. Like, okay, look, I don't know a thing about being a dev, but come on, it's like a lot of games can do it. Why not Cabal? What the fuck? And last year I noticed there was a maintenance, right? When I arrived at the character select screen, the channel select screen, all the channels were like at light green levels as opposed to like near red, how it usually is. I go in, not a bot in sight. They were all sent to hell where they belong, and I thought, whoa, they actually did something about it. They fixed it. I logged in the next day, and it was back to normal. Bots everywhere. You know, all of these issues, as much as they're frustrating, the one that frustrated me the most is one that is in common with almost every single Korean MMORPG, and that's grinding. That's what made me quit the game multiple times. You reach level 120, you head to Mutant Forest, you grind until you're level 140. From 140 to 160, you go to Ponisferum. From 160 to 180, you grind at Port Inferno. And then from 180 to 190, you grind to Arcane Trace, and whoopee, finally you're 190. Man, dude, when I got to Ponisferum, I was so fucking tired because just reaching one level felt like an eternity because you're always in the same area for 20 levels. And I don't mean like a big area. I'm talking about like, because Ponisferum looks like a post-apocalyptic like advanced like street place or whatever, and you go from left to right aggroing enemies the entire time. So I would spend time with like people grinding in parties, or I was solo, and sometimes there would be like EXP increases during events, like let's say a 200% bonus, and it felt better, it felt faster, and I would spend time like, you know, hours and hours grinding and listening to music and like watching a movie just to alleviate the pain a bit. But it still felt like shit. It was still like so long just to level up. Now, yes, there is another way to level up, a much more efficient way to level up, but you needed a booster or a blessing bead. What are those? They're like premium services that you pay for, so you get access to stuff like warps, premium channels, but the main reason you get them was for the EXP increase. So you get one of those, and a high level player takes you to IC2, which is what's referred for Illusion Castle Radiant Hall, a dungeon. He would lure a boss into an area that would lay his fire traps. So you leave the boss to lay a bunch of traps, and then after like an hour or two, you come back and you just hit the fire traps, and you get like a bunch of EXP. Way faster, and it's worth it, but you need to buy a blessing bead or a booster, which is not that expensive, but it's like, okay, you know, you gotta do, and you still gotta spend a lot of time to do it, and that takes you to like 150, maybe 160. But even when you're trying to reach 150 and 160, one session of IC2 traps doesn't even give you a level, so you need to buy an entry time every time to enter the dungeon, and you have to repeat the process again, waiting a few hours to hit the traps, just to do it a few times just to maybe reach a level. So, and also the entry items weren't always cheap, you know, they're not that expensive either, but they weren't always cheap, they stack up. So my first character, who was a warrior, I got him to level 160 purely by grinding, and I couldn't make owls efficiently because I needed to access the higher level dungeons, and to survive in those dungeons I needed decent gear, and I was always hoping for a slot extender high to drop, because those were worth a lot of owls, and you could get some good pieces of gear for your character with just a slot extender high. And I've run dungeons like hundreds of times. Hell, my cousin ran IC1 almost 1,000 times, and did he ever get a huge drop from it? No, he never did. And the way the dungeon rewards work, it's like you have your achievements list, and then it says something like, okay, in 5 runs you get a reward, and then they give you some piece of shit like Terra Grace Miraculous boots +5, and you just gotta fucking break them because they're bind and they're useless anyways. No one's gonna want to buy that shit. The dungeon system has changed, but I'm kind of unfamiliar with it, so it's besides the point. It's still pretty hard to get them anyways, to get any good drop. So what was my big break in a dungeon? I got the Merg Ring in the Frozen Tower of the Undead, B1F, on my first run. Great. Fucking great. I would spend a lot of time running dungeons just to get crap, and then it was back to grinding. And it was demoralizing. I would just tell my cousin, man, fuck this game, I'm done playing this game. Then one day we're just hanging out and we start talking about Cabal, and we start reminiscing about all the good times we had in the game. And then we tell each other, man, let's play again, let's go run some dungeons. And then while I'm playing, I realize, yeah, that's why I quit playing this fucking game. So in 2014, I just stopped playing. And I didn't play until August of 2015, that's when I made a blader, and I would only play when there was like events. So you can imagine that events don't come all the time. They come like every few months or so. And that stretched from 2015 to 2019. So as you can see here, from level 100 to 120 took a few months. From 120 to 140, it took me almost like 2 years. 120 to 140 is not that bad. It's just I didn't give a fuck probably at that time to play, so I just barely played. 140 to 160 took me like almost a year. 160 to 170 surprisingly only took me like a few days, but that's because they implemented new quests at each level until 200. And from 160 to 170, plus the other quests that were stacked that I didn't do from 120 to 160, those quests, I used them and they actually got me pretty far. And even if I didn't get the entire bar, like the entire level, I could go to Eternal Chaos Arena, which was now a new option that was pretty good to level up during the events. Like it's actually pretty, it gives you a lot of XP. And then from 170 to 180, it took me like a few months. I probably just played like once in August and I got to 180, and then once in November to reach 190. And that's when I did from 180 to 190, I said fuck Arcane Trace. I went to Devil's Tower and I managed to actually level up from 180 to 190. It gives you a shitload of EXP. Keep in mind, the only reason I managed to survive those waves of enemies there is because I had gifts since I didn't log in for a long time. I don't know why they gave me those gifts. I had like plus 12 arcanas and I think like a ring or an amulet or something like that, but I had like a bunch of like accessories that made surviving in that place much like easier. So now when I actually go to it, I can do it, but like, you know, you have to be careful and you need to have your battle mode 3 and a bunch of other stuff. So if you have your, oh yeah, and my cousin gave me gear too. He had more like money because he spent some money and he helped me get some gear, and that allowed me to survive. But if you're just getting the gear from the quests that they give you, good luck, you're gonna get fucking killed. So that's basically like how long it took me, right, to get there. That was my progression. And also because, keep in mind, I was also doing other things in my life, right? Hanging out with friends, studying. I want to play other games instead of this fucking game that I fucking hate and love, unfortunately. But, you know, other things in my life that were just, you know, much more worse than Cabal. So it was slow and steady. Now, I want to address something that's crucial, okay? Don't get me wrong, some things are better now, for sure. Such as quests, like I mentioned, yes, even though there's only one per level and you don't even get close to reaching the level, like the next level, let's say if like from 190 to 191, you do that quest, you're barely gonna get any EXP. And you could do dailies maybe, it doesn't give you much, but at least it's something, and maybe they'll put more quests later on like any other sensible MMORPG. And then you actually have more options for leveling. Like I mentioned, the Eternal Chaos Arena. Every time there's an event, people are running it. Join a group, and even if you don't know how to do it, someone is going to be like, all right, you just make sure you activate this at this moment. You know, there are people over there that are gonna show you how to do things, you know. Devil's Tower, like I mentioned, if you don't know about it, go run Devil's Tower, at least the first few waves. And there's probably other things from 190 plus that I'm unaware about, like maybe, I don't know, do we go to Abandoned City? And I can't even go there, I get my ass kicked. But, you know, also something that's cool that they did, that's a quality of life change. The retarget cancel thing I mentioned for Bladers in Battle Mode 2, that was something that what you did is Battle Mode 2 has this attack that starts fast, but the recovery time of the attack is very slow in between one attack to the next. So what they did, they start the attack, and then they set a key to cancel the target, and then you retarget the same mob, and then you repeat. So attack, untarget, retarget, attack, untarget, retarget. What that does is that it only does the first 2 hits. So when you loop it properly, it's like Kenshiro, man, just like just like hitting a bunch of times. And that was really cool because if you had high DPS, you're hitting hard, but you're hitting really fast, and that would drain the shit out of like bosses. You know, that's why like Bladers using Battle Mode 2 is pretty essential. But now what they did is they actually include a bar when you activate Battle Mode 2, and you can go from 1 to 4 as to where you want the animation to stop. So you keep it at 1, you just hold the button, and that's it. And now there's more accessories, more dungeons, new gears, weapon sets, 2 new classes, the Gladiator, the Force Gunner. The menu has been revamped, although why the fuck did they change my face? I had my face and my hair, I liked it the way it was, and they changed it. I couldn't even go back to how it was. Anyways, the item shop. Now the item shop has every cosmetic you want. Before, you had to wait each week to see what was available, and you had to like pray that whatever you wanted was there. Now you can just go in there, purchase what you want. The guild system is better. They have guild events, they have guild dungeons. You can actually search for guilds now. You can actually look them up by specific criterias. You no longer need to run daily stain clone missions to get stain clones at Mutant Forest. You can just buy them from the auction house because they have unbind options for them. And now gear that was now bind, you can actually unbind them, but of course you need to get them from the item shop. You need to get those unbind things. And there's other changes, you know, here and there. At the same time, some things are worse. Plus 15 and extreme upgrades used to be the only upgrades necessary for your gear. Now there's divine upgrades. There's chaos upgrades. They boosted the shit from plus 15 to plus 20. They even added those chaos upgrades to like accessories like belts, amulets, all labeled with chaos on them, like Minesta's Chaos Fighter Belt or some shit like that. And I understand that with new content, the difficulty rises and you need to make sure your players can actually keep up and, you know, be stronger. You know, they made the level cap 200, and now like you have overlord levels which reach to 100. That gives you like different, like you have like a tree to choose from them, wings, and then afterwards rare wings, merit mastery, honor medals. Pets are level 30 now. They have more space for stat increase with different like types and etc. You know, that's good. I appreciate that they did all that stuff, but things like chaos upgrades makes the upgrade system even worse in pay to win. I had a chaos belt that was at neutral, okay, no plus, and I had a bunch of chaos fragments that I turned into chaos cores from running all those Eternal Chaos Arena, and I figured, hey, you know, why not upgrade? I got a bunch of cores, let's just do it. I reached plus 4. When I went to attempt plus 5, not only did I fail, but my belt disappeared. Poof, gone, just like that. What did I need? A fucking Chaos Enchant Safeguard or whatever the fuck it's called, man. And well, you can guess what the rest, you know, what the rest is. And the same thing applies to extreme upgrades and divine upgrades, but instead of your gear disappearing, because that would be insane if it actually happened, because you're already leveling your gear from plus 15 to plus 20, the gear gets broken and you need like a repair thing, like I think there's like bronze, silver, and gold levels or whatever. So you need these accessories now just as much as you need your weapons and your gear. So accessories like Arcanas, Chaos Belt, carnelian. They are so expensive in the auction house, and it's normal, because it's actually really hard to actually get them to that point because they fucking break every time you try to upgrade them. So stuff like a slot extender hive, which I mentioned, right, back then was worth a lot. Now it's not worth, like, it's still worth a lot, but like, let's say getting 1.5 billion will barely get you anything decent, right? And it's not enough to keep up with other players. And now with the ultimate grade, it's only going to get worse. The divide between the players who spend and those who don't becomes wider and wider with each content update. And it's pretty much impossible to get where you want without paying. It's at a point where I'm out of the loop with a lot of things just because I'm barely active. I'm hanging by a thread. There was an option that said transform and said you gotta finish the quest first. The fuck are you talking about, transform? What is this shit? So that's how much I'm like out of the loop. So if you see this video and you're like, man, this game seems kind of interesting despite all the things he's saying, and you actually want to play and reach endgame and enjoy all the content, get ready to open your wallet. Let me end this video with a final example. There was this player in Cabal Online that made videos on YouTube called Tomaboy. I would watch his videos with my cousin, and he would have one like Forgotten Temple, B2F solo, and we were like, holy shit, he soloed FT2, and then like he would do like Máquinas Outpost solo attempts, and I was like, we were always dreaming of doing Máquinas Outpost together, just the two of us, me and my cousin. And eventually he just stopped playing. Like, he just stopped playing for a while, and he was like playing other games, I guess. And he wanted to come back and get back into the game, and he got fucking scammed. And there were there's like a bunch of scammers apparently in Cabal, so have fun with that as well. But he ended up in a Cabal private server, and in one of the videos, like his first video with the Cabal private server, he put this in the description. After getting scammed on Cabal NA, I thought I was done with the game forever. However, a couple of friends recommended this private server to me. Here I rediscovered my love for the game and feel inspired to once again make videos that I couldn't on NA. Here I can get the gear that is possible on NA without having to donate a limb or a firstborn. Thank you for following my videos for all these years, and I look forward to making more in the future. Feel free to join me on Anubis. I don't even have to say anything. I don't have to say anything about it. This comes from a player who's old school. Tomaboy is old school, man. He was there from like way back, So if he's saying that, imagine the levels. So that's pretty much all I had to say about this game. I love the game. I still do. Just as much as I fucking hate the game as well. But that's my perspective, okay? And if you like the game, and if you really enjoy it and you don't mind putting money in the game or grinding or all of that stuff, all of these issues don't concern you, and you had a pretty positive experience, go for it, man. All power to you. Because that's just my experience. That's just what happened to me, what happened to my cousin, what probably happened to a lot of people as well. Some people might have gone further than me. Some people maybe didn't even get that far. And all of these things, as much as they were frustrating, I can look back on them now and laugh. So at least I have that, right? But that was just something I wanted to share with you guys. It was just an experience that, I felt like, man, I feel like this is like a video I can do about it, And hopefully, you enjoyed it. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I'll see you guys in the next one. But, probably don't fucking subscribe to my channel because I don't know when the fuck I'm gonna make a next video. But anyways, take care.